What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast, and I got a very good video for you today. I'll be discussing the transition from the old world to the new world, so stay tuned for the full episode. So, here, I'm going to start off with this. The Bearable Bull posted uh, an article from CNN, which is very similar to the one that I did a video on yesterday. And it says, Hackers paralyzed the pipeline. Banks and stock exchanges are even bigger targets. So the narrative is unfolding right before our eyes. And this is something that the community has been talking about for a long time. And I know this is something that Bearable Bull has been bringing to the forefront about cyber attacks, power outages. And it's a real issue and it's a real threat. And if we didn't need any more confirmation about this being something legit, let me just quickly remind you about our dear friend over here and what he says.
We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. To use the COVID-19 crisis as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons the cybersecurity community can draw and improve our preparedness for a potential cyber pandemic.
Okay, and when he's talking about, he mentions it at the end. He says a cyber pandemic. So this is going to affect the whole world, not just one nation. And what do you think is going to happen when that occurs? I mean, it almost seems like he's certain about it. Well, a complete halt to all the supply chain. Now, what happened with the Colonial Pipeline? Right? People were struggling to get gas. Okay, what happens when you cut off gas? The UPS drivers, the FedEx drivers, all these truckers, they can no longer, if there was no gas, right, and there were shortages, they can no longer probably supply the goods and services that they usually have. And there would be back orders, and it would cause a great panic in the communities. Okay, so that's just one example. But what happens if it's all the entire smart grid, where it's not just gas? Now you're talking about electricity. Now you're talking about all our utilities being gone. And what would happen to the supply chain? It would be dismantled, disrupted. Okay, so this is a real issue, and I don't think a lot of people are having this in front of their minds, thinking about it, because it's something that's happening. We're seeing it left and right. Okay, and he said it's a narrow window of opportunity to be able to create, a new world. And he's had multiple interviews, and you can check those out. But that's essentially what he's saying, that you use that narrow window of opportunity to create essentially the New World Order. Okay? And I think that you have to have, in order to move from the old world to the new world, you have to have a major event. And I think the first step is this Black Swan event that we're currently in. That's a lead up to the point. He says in the video, he says it's going to be a small disturbance, this pandemic currently, in comparison to a cyber attack that would bring everything to a complete halt. Now think of that. People will be rushing to get food because there's shortages, rushing to get utilities, the essentials. And this is why I talk about being able and to be invested in this opportunity is a great chance for you to prepare your family for any event that could possibly lead to this scenario. Because at that point, it's not about how many banking liabilities you have in your checking account. In other words, it's not about those electronic digits you see. Because at the end of the day, the most essential and fundamental things that you need are food, water, things to survive. And that's why in this channel I have said it over and over again that that's something that I want to help you guys see. And this is not financial advice. Everyone has their own personal plan and beliefs. But here we see where the current is trending. They're putting it right in front of our eyes, and we can't be oblivious to it. Now, in order to control everything, though, you need a system that works. And that's why we're invested in digital assets, specifically XRP, because we know the potential and we know what it can bring. And with that potential, we can take profits, because you want to take profits when things get expensive and they start getting, priced higher than where they usually were at. You take some profits, okay? And you use those profits to do other things that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. And now, like I said, everyone's financial plan is completely different. I'm just speaking of mine. And here, I want to remind you of what is the ultimate goal for this digital asset.
Well, so when XRP was created, this actually was created before Ripple existed. The creators of XRP decided there'd be 100 billion units because they saw it as rather than having a smaller number with a very high price, they saw it as something they wanted to be effectively a global reserve currency.
There you have it, global reserve currency. And we talked about Stanley Druckenmiller. He says that crypto will replace the US dollar as the world reserve currency. And who in specific will do that? Here you go. XRP will do that. And so you're invested in the right asset. Yes, it's suppressed. Yes, it's annoying. And it has, and people hate it for various reasons. But the people who are backing this are unbelievable. And so that's kind of what is currently trending. And what's going to happen is, I would not be surprised if this cyber attack or cyber pandemic happens and there's a great panic, and the solution will be this. But now we've transitioned from the old world to the new world, and people will do anything to comply in order to have, the essential necessities of life. Because if this were to happen, a cyber pandemic, there will be shortages of everything. And so that's just something to think about. Here's a short clip from George Gammon talking about the dollar losing status.
To look at is U.S. current.
Well, let me go ahead and change the settings on that. All right, here we go.
Account. And this is where we can see the trade deficit or surplus. We start at 2015, go to 2020. On the left, we go from zero, is actually way up here this time. And because we're dealing with the trade, which with the United States is always a deficit, zero is at the top. Then we go all the way down to a negative 200 billion. 2015, we're right around negative 100 billion. That goes down in 2018. And then during the Cerveza sickness, the trade deficit increases massively, and it's continued to increase into 2021. Why is that? Because the government has been paying people like everyone's favorite Moody the Millennial to stay home and not go to work. Well, if Moody can't go to their job, because I don't know Moody's preferred pronouns. You see, I'm being politically correct. Wait till we get down here, and I'll go back to being politically incorrect. In fact, wildly politically incorrect. But more on that in a moment. But the government is paying Moody to not produce stuff. Well, Moody's getting a lot more money from the government to buy more stuff, which they are doing significantly. Going back to the chart of retail sales we looked at in step number 1. So if Moody is producing less stuff but buying more stuff, where are we getting the stuff? It's being produced by China, by Vietnam, by countries outside of the United States. We'll call it country XYZ. So they are producing all of the stuff that Moody is consuming, and then Moody is sending country XYZ all of their dollars. This is why the trade deficit increases significantly. But what it also means, which I've tried to point out with this kind of inverse trend line to mirror what we have with the trade deficit, is as the trade deficit increases, the amount of dollars going out of the United States into the global economy and circulating are increasing. Now let's move on to a chart.
Okay, so it all goes back to the trade deficit. So with the trade deficit, we're sending out our dollars to all these countries who are producing or giving us their goods. And so the point he's trying to make here is the government is paying people to stay at home, and all they're doing is just getting, currency units, which are dollars, and they're going ahead and spending that, but goods that come from where? Not from the U.S. So you can't keep this up for very long, because something's got to give. You can't keep, because at some point people are going to be like, this dollar is worthless, and so we're going to stop sending goods to the U.S. because we don't want the dollars anymore. And so the end game is fast approaching, and in order to, and it's the world reserve currency, so it'd be a seismic event for it to lose its reserve currency status. And that's why I talk about, this cyber pandemic happening will be the changing of the old guard to the new guard. And we're currently seeing it. It's in the process right now. But that will be the moment in which the flip of the switch will happen. And you're going to be in a panic, because a cyber attack would bring everything to a complete halt. And I keep reiterating that. And that's what's probably going to happen, most likely. And we'll see the digital assets with utility will be brought to the forefront. And they have to be green. They have to be energy efficient. Because we see here, Elon Musk posted, it is time there was a carbon tax. It is a high time. This is something DAI was talking about, that any mined digital assets or assets that are electric, they use a lot of electricity, will be taxed. And it seems like that's where the ball is rolling. Now, here is, I like what GD posted. He says, the combination of Ripple's ODL, PolySign, the crypto custody, Flare Networks, which is a smart contract platform, the algorithm from FTSO, Trustline Inc., so Probity Vault storage, and Interledger, the protocol, and the XRP ledger is literally all the money. Literally. So, and here's a tweet by Kevin KG said, nobody believes in an asset until the price is already skyrocketed. So you want to believe in it beforehand, be in it early, and that's why you're here. You're early, and you understand this. And so, but keep in mind, you always want to keep a ratio in which you're de-risking, okay? Because what's coming ahead of us, this isn't over. There's a lot of things that are in the works, and we're in the process of going from the old guard to the new guard. So keep your head on a swivel and be prepared for anything. And this channel is the main purpose is to educate you, to bring news to the forefront in terms of what's happening in the real world with investments and tying it all together. I hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe. Comment below. What are your thoughts of what's going to happen in the change of the old guard to the new guard of this new world order? This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.